All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the one and only Pharaoh on RIM TV. Today we have the super amazing executive director joining the team. We're going to be talking about human rights. You guys need to listen closely to this because these are your rights. These are your God-given rights that no one can take away. But they're not being enforced right now. So we got to create a voice for these rights. We got to learn these rights so then we can empower ourselves and overcome our obstacles. With that being said, my dear friend, what does human rights mean to you?
Well, human rights in the grand spectrum or individually?
Both. Why not?
Well, individually, more of non-privilege, more equality around the. If you're able to go to a facility, I'm able to do the same stuff that you're able to. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, doesn't matter the orientation you take, doesn't matter the gender you are, equality. And through the whole standpoint of humanity, I see as in human rights, you don't go and violate, you know what I mean, just a certain individual because they're different race or a different country from you, you know what I'm saying? Like with war, you know what I mean, just because you're at war with an invading country or opposing country doesn't necessarily all of them are on the same page. You get what I'm saying? So you take opposition against the forces, but you leave the citizens behind. So that's what I meant in the grand spectrum with when war comes in and everything like that. And as an individual, if I'm going to an interview, I want to be gauged the same way that you are engaged. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's exactly right. But that's not what's happening today. And you know, the human rights. This book will open this a little bit, but it's a human right to work. But you know, like you're saying, you can have discrimination or not be treated equally, or because my name is different on the resume, and his name sounds white, I'm not gonna get the job. This was a study that was done. They sent two resumes, the exact same in two resumes. One had the name Jason, the other had the name Jamal. The one, and they had the same criteria, but only the only one who got callbacks was Jason. Jamal got rejected. So that's a human right that we need to live up to. And so here's the next thing I want to do. So we know a little bit more about human rights. So we got this great little short video on human rights, just to help you kind of.
But to coincide with the same, you know what I mean, human rights is if war breaks out, you're not the opposition, you have the right to not fight in the war, you know what I'm saying, your rights as in they're not going to take for granted who you are. You can't build an empire and then have someone come in and take everything you work for, you know what I'm saying, you can't be discriminated just on the orientation and race and stuff like that. We all share the same, we're under the same curtain, is what I say, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So here's just a little bit more. It gets really interesting. I think you'll learn something.
There are many kinds of rights. Most apply to a certain group. But human rights are the only ones that apply to absolutely everyone, everywhere. That means kids, old people, poor people, basketball players, garbage men, rappers, teachers, Africans, Indians, Albanians, Christians, Muslims, Kabbalists, atheists, your mom, your dad, your next door neighbor, and you all have the exact same human rights. In other words, they're universal. But
That's what I'm saying with opposition. Just because your lord thinks it's the right way doesn't necessarily mean the populace follow the same rules.
Yeah.
Completely revolutionary. He announced that all slaves were free to go. He also said people had the freedom to choose their religion, no matter what crowd they were a part of. They documented his words on a clay tablet known as the Cyrus Cylinder. And just like that, human rights will work.
You know Cyrus the Great?
I know that Cyrus the Great.
Greece to India, and eventually to Rome. They noticed that people naturally followed certain laws, even if they were told to. They called this natural law, but it kept getting trampled.
Do you know where Cyrus is?
Cyrus the Great?
Well, Cyrus, the country.
They finally get a king to
Of
agree
the
that
island.
no one
I
can
haven't heard of
overrule the
that.
rights of people.
It's outside of Greece,
It's outside of
in
Greece.
the Mediterranean.
We're gonna travel there.
They were now safe from those in power. Kind of. It still took a bunch of British rebels declaring their independence before the king got the point that all men are created equal. Which isn't to say he liked the idea, but he couldn't stop them. And America was born.
Well, even with the Declaration of Independence, the man is a very broad term. At the time, they only dignified to white men.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
That
because
makes sense.
slavery was still in effect.
And
So human rights, and
it's a
that-
contradiction.
It's a big contradiction. And the irony is there because they're seeking proper human rights, but they're not supplying proper human rights for the slaves that they're holding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Of the world. He almost succeeded. But the countries of Europe joined forces and defeated him. Human rights was again a hot topic. They drew to Greece, to India, and eventually to Rome. They noticed that people naturally followed certain laws, even if they weren't told to. They called this natural law.
You need to go back?
But it kept getting trampled on by those in power. Not until 1,000 years later in England did they finally get a king to agree that no one can overrule the rights of people.
Magna
Not
Carta.
even a king.
You are a
People's rights
smart
were
man.
finally recognized. They were now safe from those in power. Kind of. It still took a bunch of British rebels declaring their independence before the king got the point that all men are created equal. Which isn't to say he liked the idea, but he couldn't stop them. And America was born. The French immediately followed with their own revolution for their own rights. Their list was even longer, and they insisted that these rights were just made up. They were natural. The Roman concept of natural law had become natural rights. Unfortunately, not everyone was so thrilled. In France, a general named Napoleon decided to overthrow the new French democracy and crown himself emperor of the world. He almost succeeded.
You know where he
The
fell?
countries of Europe joined forces and defeated
You know where he fell?
human rights was
You feel where Hitler
a hot
fell?
topic.
Napoleon did?
Yeah, they fell in the same spot. Greed always pays the same way.
Many rights across
You know where Napoleon fell? Moscow.
but only across
Ah,
Russia.
Okay.
You know where Hitler fell?
somehow still didn't
Russia.
Moscow. Russia. They tried to conquer Russia, and the Russians know their terrains, and they moved away. They didn't fight. They packed their stuff and moved away. And the tundra and the cold and all that killed off the German invading army and the French invading.
Are you sick, bro? We gotta talk more about that. Luke.
not just in Europe. Eventually, even Europeans started to agree. But it wasn't going to be that easy. 2 world wars erupted. Hitler exterminated half the Jewish population of Earth in horrifying Nazi death camps. And all told, 90 million people died. Never had human rights been so terrifyingly close to extinction.
We're going to talk about the Geneva Convention.
We're desperate for
Watch.
change.
very nice, informative.
Informative.
Yeah,
Do you think this would help some of the people here?
yeah.
You like that? Okay.
It's a nice little video.
I like it a lot too. Okay, so we love the video. Here we go. All right. So now you told me what human rights meant to you before the video. Now after watching the video, how do you answer what are human rights now?
The same thing.
Same thing. the same-
Equality. You want to be treated the same as others. You don't want to be treated as a minority. If we do have equal human rights, there won't be such thing as minorities. There won't be minority as in population, but
Yeah.
minority as a status quo.
Yeah,
will
yeah.
be gone. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. I
So
like
it
that.
wouldn't be if human rights were followed, we wouldn't have malpractice
Uh-huh.
in doctors because a lot of people don't understand this, but like police officers harass black men and Mexican men and Mexican women and Hispanic and black women. Doctors do the same. They perform a lot of misdiagnosis. A lot of malpractice goes into treating black women and treating Hispanic women.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, there was this one lady, I think it was like 4 years ago, I think. Don't quote me on it, but 4 years ago she had went into surgery and she had put a listening device, a recorder in her hair.
Okay.
She had put a recorder in her hair because she didn't really trust the doctors that were doing the surgery on her, so she just wanted to record
Okay.
what was going on while she was under the knife and knocked out.
Yeah.
And a lot of them got fired for malpractice because they would talk bad about the lady. They were talking. She went in there for a liposuction, I think, or something. They put her under, and they were making fun of her and her race and everything like that. So it is true.
It's very real, and
Yeah.
you know, like, not to make this a white people thing, but this happens to us all the time. It's not your reality, but this is some of the things we live with. My dad, my millionaire super dad, he went to the hospital. He got sick from a spider bite, burn recluse. He comes back from the hospital. His arm's broken because they dropped him. He's what else happened to him? He had cuts. Like they just messed him up. It was really bad. Like so, like, and you know, my dad always had a fear of going to doctors, and that justified why. You know what I mean? Like he had a fear of them because I don't know if they've done this with Mexicans, but I know back in the '60s or '40s they used to test drugs on us or test disease on us and stuff. So there's a reason to have that kind of
Resentment towards it.
you know,
Yeah.
you guys tell us not to forget history. Well, we can't forget history about that either. It's happened. So it's something to feel. My dad had a right reason to feel that way.
Well, it happens a lot to the Hispanic community
Too?
because they really can't report it.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of threats and a lot of scare tactics with the new president that's been appointed right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in the Hispanic community don't go to law or don't go to higher authority because they're in fear of being deported and fear of being discriminated against. And stuff like once again, going back to human rights, we have the rights to occupy any spot on the planet. There is no borders when it comes to human rights. If I'm from a different country, I should be treated the same as if I'm from this country. There shouldn't be anything dividing us.
Yeah.
There's only so many things that divide us as a population.
Okay.
For instance, politics. Another instance, religion. Right?
Yeah.
Religion, politics, and
Sex.
Sex for one instance.
But
it's politics, religion, and I had it in the top of my head. What was it? Religion, politics. I just had it in the top of my head. It wasn't sex. What was it?
I threw him off with the sex.
Yeah,
comment.
it was religion, politics, and race.
Oh, okay.
For
Religion.
instance, I gave this example to one of my clients today. I said, let's say you have an army of 100,000.
Okay.
And you have or there's an army of 100,000, and you have an army of 100,000.
Okay.
Now, the best way to conquer that army is to divide them. So
Yes,
the first thing
yes.
you do,
Divide and
right?
conquer,
So
okay.
you divide and conquer. You
Yes.
go up to the army and you implement political parties.
Okay.
Now, half of them go to the left and half of them go to the right.
Okay.
Right or not?
Okay.
So now you have to fight two wars, but you have an army of 100,000 and you have two armies that are divided, which would be easier.
Yeah.
Now you incorporate religion. Now you have different fractions. You know what I mean? And then those two armies that had 50,000 each, now you account and we'll say for example purposes, now you have four groups.
Okay.
Of, 25, 25, 25, 25, because you switched them from politics and then you change them up again with religion, and
Yeah.
now you're going to race,
Uh-huh.
and I will split that group up into like let's say 8 factions. You know
Okay,
what I'm
okay,
saying?
yeah.
So now you had a war between one army of
Uh-huh.
100,000. You had which was a close battle.
Yeah.
But now you have 8 different wars
Yeah.
of 100,000, of 10,000 or 11,000,
Yeah,
which will
yeah.
be easier if you have an army of 100,000.
Yes.
You get what I'm
No,
saying?
and another example I'll show you real quick. There's 2 bags of money. Money. One's going this way, the other's going this way towards the money. What we need to do, watch this, both go over here, then they can go over there together and conquer that. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just working against each other, not getting anywhere, just come together. Let's go get this money together. All right, we got that one. Let's go over here together. You know what I'm saying?
And that was with quantum mechanics.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2 ways can't travel the same.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So if one way is traveling that way, it's human. It's nature. It's quantum nature. It's the other way. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a vertical line, with that example, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It might be more difficult to accomplish what you said if you have 2 parties. You get what I'm saying? It's better to go into like divide. You go there and you go there and you come back.
Okay.
You collaborate.
Okay.
You
As
know
long
what
as
I'm
it's collaboration.
Yeah, as
That's
long
what it's
as-
about. I don't
yeah.
care how we get to
Yeah.
collaboration.
As long as there's a collaboration
As long-
involved.
Then
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the same page here. Okay. So now, was there anything in the video that caught your attention or you were surprised to learn?
Not necessarily. If you know a lot about history, you know that, like I told you, I don't know if you read The Prince by Nico Machiavelli, and he teaches a lot about how to become a proper principality.
Really?
And a lot of them deal with divide and conquer. So you divide the people up, and for instance, you take advantage of the poor. Not all the poor, but you
that's what
take
they do.
advantage of the poor.
They're victims.
Through demographics.
Okay.
So let's say you run all of the United States.
Yeah.
Right? That's your country.
Okay.
So
okay.
you'll probably mess with people in California.
Yeah.
And then you'll mess with people in like Montana. And then you mess with people in like Texas.
Yeah.
And then you mess with people in like that. You necessarily don't want to mess with the same group in the same area.
Okay.
Because then it adds revolt.
Okay.
But if
yeah.
you separate, you know what I mean?
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, so you separate them by region. So now the people in California, right, don't know that you're doing the same thing to the people in Texas. So it can be like, so the people that live in Nevada can be like, let's follow
Yeah.
what the king says because you saw what happened to California. So they're
Uh-huh.
more willing to be obedient because of the consequences that California endured, the consequences that Texas endured.
Yeah.
But if you had it to where it was California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and all that, and they're in a collective area, then they
Yeah.
can go, you know what? They fucked me like they fucked you. They messed us up. It's like, let's come together
Yes.
and start a revolt. So from those times, it was taught that don't take from the same pond.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Dip your
Yeah.
toes in different waters.
Diversification.
Yeah.
Diversification, which is a good business term too. But yeah.
Yeah, but in those terms, it's bad. Yeah, it's bad because you're taking
Yeah,
from
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a practice taught to the royals for a long time. It's been something that's been recorded. It's been something that in this instance it's the path already paved.
Okay.
It's not the road not traveled.
Less traveled.
This is the road most traveled.
Yes.
And this is what the principalities of the past had followed to gain their notoriety and royal status.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I get you.
they practice the same principles in different eras.
Okay.
You know, and you might get, like how they said, you might get like Cyrus the Great,
Yeah.
empathetic guy and stuff like that. You know what? Human rights.
Yeah.
And everything. But then you get Napoleon and be like, I want everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's always different. It just with the person that's in charge. Because, for instance, it just depends on the person in charge, bro. It's like I was telling you with war too. Like if your president goes to war, it doesn't necessarily say that all the citizens are behind it, that the populace is behind it.
No,
so why bother them? But we've been traumatized since Vietnam with the Viet Cong and stuff like that, with guerrilla war tactics.
Yeah.
So civilian are deemed like a terrorist threat, dude.
Yeah,
When you're
yeah.
overseas and you're over there, you don't know who's your opposition, and it's very hard to occupy a city and perform proper human rights.
Uh-huh.
You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? When
yeah.
the opposition is there and stationed there,
Yeah.
and they look exactly like the populace.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
yeah.
hard to distinguish who is who. Once you take off your gear, you look like a civilian. So it's hard to tell. So, for instance, my cousin, he went to war, and there's a certain feet limit you're allowed
Yeah.
before you have to tell them to stop, and you have to shoot at them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they'll come up and suicide bomb you.
Oh.
So it's for instance, human rights is a very important thing, but during war, it's something that is overlooked very quick.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be because, like, you know, there's things to protect people from being criminals of war or not criminals. You know, going to jail and getting treated badly because you're from another country and they caught you.
Oh, the POWs, the prisoners of war. And
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And then, for instance, but it just depends on where you are, dude. You know what I'm saying?
It's complicated.
It's a very complicated topic. Like, everybody wants human rights
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but then when you realize that the reason we got the information from so and so's group is because we waterboard them in Guantanamo.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why Guantanamo Bay is still alive and running, because torture is the best way to get confessions.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? And statistically speaking,
It's
a
still
lot.
open one time?
Yeah,
They
and-
closed that shit with Obama.
No, they opened it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's still open. Yeah, and statistically speaking, a lot of the times, what they're saying is not even true. You know what I'm saying? But they get so much confessions that they're getting good confessions. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
a lot of the statistics that they get from it aren't even true. The people say that just so they can stop the waterboarding.
The coercion.
Yeah,
It's coercion, yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
they do that. And they do that to the black boys in Chicago too. Like, there's so many. We have statistics for days on that kind of stuff. So we'll move on from there. But okay. Here's what I was gonna say. So these are our human rights. I want you to kind of take a look at that quickly. You know, see which ones are your favorites. See what. Yeah, just up here. So we're. Here, let me show you one booklet. So we're just reviewing our human rights in this booklet. You can get one from us. It goes over our 30 human rights, and it goes over in detail so you can understand when your human rights are being offended or whatever. So if you don't know your rights, you can't complain or you can't do anything. So learn your rights, kids. I'll be coming by to your schools with these eventually too. So here we go. So take a look at that. Just some of the human rights in there. Well, yeah. First human right. What's the first human right?
We're all equal. We are all born free and equal.
Yes, all born free and equal.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
It says, don't discriminate.
don't discriminate. What does it say about
It says
discrimination?
these rights belong to everybody, whatever or differences. Whatever our differences.
Oh, whatever
Not
our
bad.
differences. So
Yeah, the rights belong to everybody, whatever our differences.
whatever our differences. So you have the right not to be discriminated against for what you're wearing. And how you can see this is if you go into a church or a restaurant dressed differently than everybody else, and they treat you differently or ask you to leave because you're expressing yourself in that way, that's discrimination, and that's not right. You have a right to complain, just so you know. All right.
Yeah, the right to live.
The right to live.
We all have the right to live and to live in a freedom and safety. In freedom and safety.
Okay.
That was true. That was nice. No slavery. Nobody has any right to make us a slave. We can't make anyone our slave.
Prison system has nothing but slaves. Just saying. But all right, let's go.
No torture. Nobody has any rights to hurt us or to torture us. You have rights no matter where you go. I am a person just like you.
You have rights wherever you go. So if you go to another country, you have rights. You have universal rights. These are our human, God-given rights. So just keep this in mind. Educate yourself and read up. So
We're all equal before the law. The law
Okay.
is the same for everybody.
okay. And a lot of these laws are not being enforced right now, or these rights. They're not being enforced because it's for whatever reason. So it's time to come together and make this world right. Here you go.
Your human rights are protected by law. You can all ask for the law to help us when we are not treated fairly.
Okay, that's not right.
And then there's one difference between
What do you think?
just because you have human rights doesn't make you eligible to be an asshole when you go overseas.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
because you have human rights doesn't mean you have to overlook the certain laws that follow.
Yeah.
For instance, if you go to is it Saudi Arabia or Dubai? One of those. They're very clean over there.
Okay.
And they don't allow, just like littering here. If they see you spit out gum, they'll arrest you.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they're very clean over there. They're very, very
I have
clean.
never. I just learned something.
Yeah, so it's just you can't go over there and just start chewing gum and throwing it
Well,
everywhere.
a huge part we haven't got to that part yet is respecting each other's
Mhm.
differences. So that's where that will come into play.
So your human rights are protected by law. We can all ask for the law to help us when we are not treated fairly. No unfair detainment. Nobody has the right to put us in prison without good reason and keep us there, or to send us away from our country.
Cricket.
The right to trial. If you are put on trial, they should be in public. The people who try us should not let anyone tell them what to do. We're always innocent till proven guilty. This is farce if you're in the system.
Yeah,
And if you're in the system, you're guilty until proven innocent.
exactly. Because
Just-
the first thing they do is that if they think you did something, they're gonna put your picture all over the news. This person got caught stealing. What's that gonna program everyone to think?
It's a guilty party.
He's guilty. So the media, you guys need to be a bit more reserved about who you release that they're guilty. You know,
Well, if you're in jail already, it doesn't matter if you're guilty or not. You have to prove that you're innocent to get out. So this doesn't necessarily speak to you if you're in jail. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
If you're incarcerated, what do you have to prove?
Wait,
You know what I
wait,
mean?
wait. What is this?
It says we're always innocent
okay.
until proven guilty.
Okay,
But if
okay.
you're incarcerated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What do you have to prove to get out?
You're innocent.
Right?
Yeah.
But when you're outside, then you have to prove. They have to prove
Okay.
that
okay.
you're guilty
okay,
to go
okay,
in.
Okay.
So it flips over when you're in the system and when you're not in the system.
Okay. Okay.
So if you're in jail, it's proven you're guilty until proven innocent. If you're outside the system, they're trying to put you in jail. You're innocent until proven guilty.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You know what I'm
okay. I
saying?
see. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Because if that was the case, then you shouldn't incarcerate no one until the final verdict,
uh,
right?
uh-huh,
Or some instances like that. That's what I believe. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. That
You
makes
know
sense.
what I mean? Or because you, for instance, then you won't have those problems where there's people locked up for years and then in the end they end up innocent. And now they got all those years
Yeah.
wasted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then if you got someone that is in the outside facing it, then if you give them steady courts and they miss them, then you have the opportunity to detain them and take them in. You're gonna say, but you have to give them that opportunity
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
But once you're inside, it's you gotta prove you're innocent to get out.
Uh-huh.
So this is only broad in some spectrums of,
Okay.
of the system.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying?
No, I do.
Because you can be in jail and not even have a court date. I know people that have been in jail and they don't have a court date for like 6 months. Yeah.
Wow.
And with
Wow.
the COVID going on, I know people that don't have court dates since March.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
This dude knows a lot about our community.
Yeah,
so
we-
listen to
We're
him.
tied with the North Las Vegas jail.
Okay.
No one should be blamed for doing something until it's proven. When people say we did a bad thing, we have the right to show it is not true. We have the right to show it is not true. Yeah. And it says the right to privacy. No one should try to harm our good name. Nobody has the right to come into our home, open our letters, or bother us or our families without a good reason. Freedom to move. We all have the right to go where we want in our own country and to travel as we wish.
You're gonna like this next one. You're gonna like this next one. This is my favorite.
The right to seek a safe place to live.
Oh, wait, no, it's not like that.
If we are frightened to... did I flip the right page?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, the right to seek a safe place to live. If we are frightened of being badly treated in our own country, we all have the right to run away to another country to be safe.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Right to be a nationality.
Right to a nationality.
Oh, right to a nationality. We all have the right to belong to a country. We're the most patriotic country out there.
Uh-huh.
Marriage and family. Every grown-up has the right to marry and have a family if they want to. Men and women have the same rights when they are married and when they are separated. The right to your own things. The right to your own things. Everyone has a right to own things and share them. Nobody should take our things from us without a good reason. Right?
Yeah, and the homeless definitely appreciate that one.
And freedom of thought. We all have the right to believe in what we want to believe. I have a religion or to change it if we want.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Freedom of thought.
Yeah, I like freedom of thought. Kanye West is really big on free thought too. So that's
Freedom of expression. We all have the right to make up our own mind, to think what we like, to say what we think, and to share our ideas with other people. The right to public assembly. We all have the right to meet our friends and to work together in peace to defend our rights. Nobody can make us join a group if we don't want to. The right to discriminate. The right to democracy. We all have the right to take part in the government of our country. Every grown-up should be allowed to choose their own leader. Social security. We all have the right to affordable housing, medicine, education, and child care, enough money to live on, and medicine needed if we are ill or old. Workers' rights. Every grown-up has the right to do a job, to a fair wage for their job, and to join a trade union.
nice.
The right to play. We all have the right to rest from work and to relax.
That's the best one.
Yeah, that was good.
That's the hold on. Let me show that one. The right to play. This is our favorite. The right to play. I'm gonna read it again. We all have the right to rest from work and to relax. Put that down in your notebooks, all right? The right to play.
Said food and shelter for all. We all have the right to a good life, mother and child, people who are old, unemployed, or disabled. And all people have the right to be cared for.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
These human rights are something pretty good. Yeah.
The right to education. Education is a right. Primary school should be free. We should learn about the United Nations and how to get on with others. Our parents can choose what we learn. Right? Our parents can choose what we learn.
Yeah.
Copyrights. Copyrights is a special law that protects one's own artistic creation and writings. Others cannot make copies without permission. We all have the right to our own way of life, to enjoy the good things that art, science, and learning bring.
Nice, nice. You just got two more now.
Say, a fair and free world. There must be a proper order so we can all enjoy rights and freedom in our own country and all over the world.
Nice. These human rights are something pretty good. I'm telling y'all, man.
Responsibility. We have a duty to other people, and we should protect their rights and freedom.
And our last
That's it.
one. That's it.
That's it.
There.
No one can take away your human rights.
The best one of
That's
all.
the best one.
Number 30. No one can take away your human rights, okay? Remember that if you remember anything from this. Now, we're at the end almost. Just two more questions and we're almost out of here. So, here's the question. Now you read the... Oh, you read it, so...
Mhm. Yes.
What does that say? Famous people? Famous people who promoted human rights. All right, so I'll show you this before we end the interview. So, famous people who promoted human rights. Look at them. You have Nelson Mandela up there, Martin Luther King. You have Gandhi. You have Thomas Jefferson. And you have some crazy looking guy with a wig. Voltaire, French or something. Writer of the 18th century. All right, so the final questions. Now that you know all the human rights, we've talked about the human rights. Here's the question. What can happen if human rights are ignored?
Well, a lot of them are ignored, and it's happening right now.
Exactly. Most of them are ignored right now. That's why we're doing this video. Keep going.
For instance, when Hong Kong was out of whack, because now they they got adopted into the Chinese government. I don't know if you didn't know that. Yeah, back in 1860s with the Opium Wars.
Okay,
Yeah, Great Britain took control of Hong Kong.
Real. Oh, with the okay.
Yeah,
I love this guy.
Hong Kong was part of Great Britain until 1998. You didn't know that?
Bro, I
Have you
gotta,
ever seen-
you make me feel
Yeah.
dumb sometimes. This guy's so smart. I'm like, I gotta read more. I gotta do better.
Yeah. Have you ever seen all those old Chinese movies, the kung fu movies? And you
Yeah,
always
of
wonder
course.
why there's a lot of white people.
Yeah.
When they go to Hong Kong, because Hong Kong was owned by white people.
Well, okay. I was good to know. I didn't know that. I know they own Africa because of the colonialism. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know.
Well, a lot of it is through colonialism.
Yeah.
We talk to a lot of African people. There's always something I like to introduce. It's called secondary influence.
Okay, secondary influence. What's that?
The secondary influence was colonialism. I don't like calling it colonialism because you really didn't colonize a place where there were people living, but you did influence a secondary influence.
Okay.
For instance, if you know 3 languages, you can travel the whole world. And you know what languages they are?
Latin.
Spanish.
Spanish and French are too close to it.
No, Spanish,
So-
French, and English. If you know those 3 languages, you can travel anywhere in the world.
Really, what about Japan though? You gotta learn.
A lot of people that speak Japanese speak English.
Oh my goodness, I love this. I can't wait till you start traveling.
After 1945, when Japan lost World War II,
Yeah.
they signed this doctorate to not make nuclear weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, their main allies was the United States. So whenever your main ally is a certain country,
Okay.
you like to promote their language in your country. So it seems it's almost like kissing ass.
Oh, I get.
Yeah.
Wow, this dude is so smart, man.
It's
I
like
love
kissing
this
ass. So
dude.
if like a lot of people that are aligned with Russia,
Yeah.
their secondary language that they teach to the people is Russia.
Oh, really?
Russian.
Okay.
Why would you teach English if your main ally is Russian?
Wait.
So let me go back. Usually, when you have 2 superpowers,
Okay.
Russia and the United States, to be on good terms with your allies, you go, you know what I did? Let's say I'm
so then they
Japan.
make the second
Yeah,
language. So,
yeah.
so Russia and England.
Not their second language, but they introduce it to their criteria
Okay.
and their rubric in
Okay.
school.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
okay.
So like, you know what? I think our alliance is so good. We started teaching our high schoolers Russian.
Okay.
You know
okay,
what? But you know, by like 2025, you know what's going to be the largest English-speaking country?
What?
China.
Really?
Yeah, they have
So
they have like 1.4 billion people in their. Yeah.
Dog, you know your stuff. He knows. I don't know. I'm impressed. So okay.
Well, 17% of the world is either Indian and Chinese,
17% of the world is either Indian or Chinese.
or even more. You know how many people there are in the world that we're able to count? There's way more. I'm pretty sure there's way more.
I know in America there's like 320 million people.
Right? But in the whole world,
7 billion.
there's 7.4 billion.
I was close.
Yeah, there's like 7.4 billion.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
1.4 billion Chinese, and there's 1.3 billion Indians. So that's 2.6 billion, either Indian or Chinese, out of 7 billion.
Okay.
And out of those 7 billion, right? Great Britain owned almost all of India because that's where they were growing their poppy fields,
Okay.
and Hong Kong, and that's where they were selling their opium.
You blow my mind, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
So, like I was saying, if you know 3 languages,
yeah.
a lot of French colonized Africa.
Oh.
So a lot of Africans-
I have friends
Yeah.
in Africa, and they do speak French.
They speak French.
Okay, because that's
Yeah.
the way of a. Okay, that makes
That's the
sense.
secondary influence.
Okay. All right, cool, man. So here's. All right, so we just answered that question. What can happen if human rights are ignored? I think we just answered that. What would happen if everyone knew their human rights?
There'll be more war.
You think there would be more war
Yeah.
if people knew their human rights?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't
Why
see-
do you think government, not government officials, corporations don't allow you to speak about your pay rate? You know what I mean? They keep that as a secret. Don't tell no one what
Yeah,
you make.
yeah.
Don't tell them, because if everybody found out
Yeah.
that you were making $2 less than that person, and that's not right and stuff like that,
Yeah.
wouldn't you quit?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you go revolt?
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't you go and stir up
Well,
the pot?
Well, there's definitely a revolution coming.
You
I
get
think-
what
I
I'm
think-
saying?
So no, I get what you're
So
saying.
the more people focus on their human rights and stuff like that, the more chaotic it's going to be, because the more people feel that their worth and old.
I think, see, you say the more chaotic it's going to be. I think it's always the darkest before the dawn. And what I mean by this is that before it gets good, it's got to get better. I hate to say it, even Trump said, he said it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is in my vision as a spiritual spirit, this is God's judgment day. All these deaths, all this stuff that's happening, this is hell on earth in my opinion. Like, this is global warming's getting closer, you know. So like these are the end times, you know. People are dying, the old are dying, and so I just see it as biblical.
People who have never died before are dying.
Yeah, so I don't know. That was these guys.
Trump. That's what he said.
Oh,
That's what
really?
makes me laugh. Like, people are dying that've never died before.
People are dying that have never died.
Yeah. In some instances, it's funny, but in some instances, it's true.
Yeah.
Like some people that were deemed healthy a couple of years ago are now dropping dead because they're not healthy. And that's what he was getting at.
Okay,
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, and a lot of people twist it. It's like, of course you're gonna die if you're dying. You know what I'm saying? But he's seen it that a couple of years ago you were considered healthy, and now what's up? You're not healthy because you've lived the same life, you've done the same thing.
Yeah.
So there's always different perspectives. And different
Always different perspectives, and that's one of the things we work to do with this news channel. We don't just show you one perspective or our biased perspective, but we show you multiple perspectives so that we can make the most informed decision. That's what it's about, is getting informed, okay? Our interview looks like it's at an end. I mean, is there anything else you would like to say about human rights or about how great this community is or center? Anything else to say at this time?
Well, human rights are important, and not necessarily saying that I'm not negative against, like, everybody should have human rights. Everybody should imply them, put them into effect and everything like that. But like how you say, we got to weather through the storm before we can rise again.
Yeah.
Right? So in those instances, it is true, and you're gonna overthrow the government and stuff like that. Not necessarily like that, but you know what I mean. Overthrow the government by implementing your own political party and stuff like that. Because I read something today about the younger generation is that the only reason the younger generation guides towards the Democratic Party is because they've tried to bring out a new party, but this country is so split into a two-party system that they can't even fathom introducing a third party.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Which ties more to the younger crowd, the younger generation.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
and so I'm all about the younger generation. I'm a big kid. So he's talking about this third political party. What am I doing with this Real Education Matters thing? This is going to be a political party. Okay, this is a political movement. This is a statement. Real Education Matters. If you're working with us, this is a statement against hate, against corruption. It's about love. It's about peace. It's about learning. It's about teamwork to make the dream work. So if you really want to vote right, vote REM this election. Real Education Matters, REM. Anything else you would like to say on that note?
No, that is all. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for giving me a chance to talk about REM, the greatest political party ever, young people. Yes! We're out.
Thank you.
That was a great interview, bro.
Oh.
Man, you got a lot to share. Whoa.
Oh, that's not even enough. Thank you, man. Thank you. I go to the bathroom real fast.
Okay. What the heck?